We are back. We are back as we go forward with this edition of News You Can Use, and I'm your host, Thera Martin Milling. In this segment, I am delighted to present to some and to introduce to others Attorney Robert Coco. And you are awesome. You've been a guest for me on WURD. You're coming back soon, right?
I am coming back, yes.
And you talk about a lot of the issues that are hot topic issues for people that some of us may take for granted, but that are facing folks every day. What are some of those hot button issues that you as an attorney have to dispense advice about?
Well, I'm a consumer lawyer, Thera, and as you
hot
know,
button issues, yes.
Right. We deal with, as a consumer lawyer, with state and federal laws that protect the average consumer in transactions.
Yes.
And probably the hottest topic for most people is credit these days. And there's a big issue in the news right now with the Equifax data breach.
Yes, yes.
And that's important in and of itself for people to protect themselves regarding that particular problem. But it's also important for them to understand that that same pool of computer information can affect them in a lot of ways in life. One of the least known is in an employment context when they're applying for a job in the form of background checks.
Yes.
It's a very important issue because people are entitled to see those background checks and very often do not, and don't understand sometimes that they may not be getting jobs because of errors in those background checks.
So that's pretty scary. So when a potential employee finds out that they got nixed from an opportunity for a job because something was incorrect, they would come to an attorney such as you to help try to fight them to help fight for them to get the job?
Yes. Well, probably not for the job per se, but for damages resulting from violations of the law that occurred by them not getting the job. Right,
so who gets sued? That's what I want to know.
Sure.
Is it Equifax?
It could yes. So the two primary targets in those type of actions would be the credit reporting agencies who dispense the information to the employer and the employer, because they have independent duties under the law to treat the job applicant in accordance with the legal requirements.
Okay. And then with identity theft cases, that's just so scary to me. And having somebody like take over your life and they're spending your money and you're not getting the benefit of it, and you're trying to prove that you're clean. I didn't buy this, $8,000 whatever. Does that come to you like that, the identity theft cases?
Very often. Identity theft, it is scary, but there's simple ways to deal with these things. And I consult with consumers for free and very often represent them for free. So there's no reason to be scared as long as you have the proper knowledge of what to do.
Yeah. But I watched the commercials, the infomercial really, SafeLink I think it's called, and they go on and on about how they'll show somebody who's been through it that it was horrible and it took them years to get their credit back, and so that has me shaking in my boots. I'm like, oh my God, I got to get an attorney for this thing?
Well, yes.
Sometimes,
unfortunately, very often you have to do it because the credit reporting agencies are really not set up to fix these problems in a way specifically that they read the dispute letter that you send them with all the evidence. Very often it's just a matter of comparing computer codes, which is not going to help the average person. So the first thing you should do in an identity theft situation is to report it to the police. Not because the police are going to solve the issue, because obviously in the cyber world it's almost impossible to track down the people who are doing these things. But that is the first step in showing the credit reporting agency, regardless of whether they ultimately look at your information and correct it, that's the first step towards credibility in showing that this is not a credit item that belongs to you. And then what I do with clients is craft a credit dispute letter in the right way, send it in the right way, so that if it is not honored by the credit reporting agency and the creditor who has to be contacted with regards to reinvestigating this, they both have duties to reasonably reinvestigate the dispute. And if they don't, we set it up properly with the client so that they could have a lawsuit to get the result that the law entitles them to. Okay.
Another one of those hot button consumer issues where people can end up having to or needing to talk to someone like yourself, an attorney at law, lemon cars.
Yes.
These cars that we buy cost us an arm and a leg. 6 months to a year after having purchased it, or once the warranty is gone, it dies on you.
Yes, so one thing it's important for people to understand.
This has happened to me if this sounds personal,
These issues occur very commonly, and that's why no one should be embarrassed to say that it did happen.
Yes.
It never feels good to say you've been ripped off in a transaction,
yeah.
but the only way to get on the road to correcting it is to admit it and realize that you have a lot of people in the same place that you are. It's very tough to make it in a capitalist society. There's always people waiting to take advantage of you, and you have to fight back. But if you fight back with a lawyer, you're in a much better position to do so productively. So lemon law is it's one thing that's important for your viewers to understand is that lemon law applies to new cars, not used cars. However, increasingly many people buy used cars because of the price differential. And there is recourse, not under the lemon laws, but just under what we call the common law, meaning fraud claims and the like, and statutory protections like the consumer protection law. And you can sue a car dealer for making a misrepresentation as to the used vehicle. The most common one that affects the price of the vehicle, essentially causes you to overpay for the vehicle, is prior collision damage that's not disclosed by the car dealer. That could drastically affect the value of the car. Half the cars on the road have been in collision accidents. Unless you know how bad it is, you are not an educated consumer. Okay,
so that is good to know. Give me another hot button consumer issue that people come to attorneys such as yourself for.
Debt collection harassment, especially calls to their cell phones. These could be their
or
debts.
At your job, right?
Yes. If you're contacted at your job by a debt collector, you should send a certified letter to them saying that you're not permitted to receive those calls at work. And once again, if they then disobey your instruction, that could lay the groundwork for a lawsuit under the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act.
Okay, so then that's what our viewers need to know in a situation like that. If you have a collection company harassing you and calling you at home, at work, on your cell phone, there is something you can do to try and address that.
Yes, there is. And the great thing about all these laws, some of which I've mentioned, some of which I haven't, is that they have a provision in them that allows you to collect your attorney's fees. So you don't have to pay me if you're a consumer that's been afflicted with one of these problems. The bad guys have to pay me. Interesting, interesting, very good. Now real quick, some background. Attorney Robert Coco, Philadelphia resident, practiced downtown. Yes. Where? I practice in Center City, 1500 Walnut. I'm a graduate of Central High School, went to school at St. Joe's University, Temple Law School, so I'm a local boy. Yes, 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 and doing so well. And willing to come on programs like this and to different radio stations and making yourself available to lawmakers. I know you were very supportive to former, now retired State Senator Shirley Kitchen when she would have different programs in the community to uplift people. You were willing to come out pro bono and to talk and to share your knowledge about law to help people. Yeah, she was a great friend and she helped me to help her constituents fight foreclosures, which is something else that is a hot button issue for a lot of people. And I see that you're still working with lawmakers because there's Pennsylvania State Senator Sharif Street, and you're trying to make yourself available to him from time to time as well, or to his constituents. Yes, I am. Yeah. All right, well, fantastic. And if people want to hear more about some of the issues that are hot button issues for consumers that they need to come and see an attorney about, how can they be in touch? Well, they can contact me by phone, 215-351-0200, and at my website, www.phillyconsumerlaw.com. I try to provide some educational content as well as information. And you know, for our senior citizens, our seasoned citizens, most of all, there seems like there's always scams floating around them for people trying to take advantage of our elders. Elder abuse. We're going to talk about that another time, and in fact, we'll be talking about it on WURD real soon. Great. So we'll have